The accusation, they're throwing around the word treason.
I hate to say this, but President Barack Obama, there is now incontrovertible evidence that he was the spearhead of a seditious conspiracy to subvert the will of the American people and overthrow the United States government back in 2016.
They're saying that Obama knew that Russia did not meddle in the election, did not have any impact in the election.
We must, absolutely must, hold every one of these criminals accountable for the crimes that they committed. They are the most heinous crimes committed in American history.
But yet promoted this idea.
James Comey, John Brennan, Clapper, Rice, Biden was in the meeting. They briefed Barack Obama on Hillary Clinton's plan to, quote, tie Trump to Russia collusion lies. It consumed our national discourse for 5 years.
And then there's been some incredible clips of all these different news reporters, CNN and MSNBC, just saying over and over and over again, clear evidence of Russian collusion.
For 20 years, you had Obama and George W. Bush's Department of Justice go easy on this guy. They didn't fully investigate the case. They didn't show any curiosity about the case. And now Donald J. Trump is asking his Department of Justice to show full transparency. And somehow that's a criticism of Donald J. Trump and not Barack Obama and George W. Bush. If you want to criticize the people who aren't showing full transparency, you ought to go after the administrations that went easy on Jeffrey Epstein, the administrations that concealed this case for 20 years, and the administrations that failed to show full transparency.
When a former president's carefully polished image collides with the blunt force of unfiltered truth, the cracks don't just show, they gape wide open. Joe Rogan comes swinging with the precision of a sniper and the weight of a wrecking ball, landing hits that can't be shrugged off. Meanwhile, JD Vance slips in a sharp, unexpected jab that cuts through the noise and leaves no room for political spin. What begins as a roast quickly escalates into a full-scale demolition, tearing down the curated legacy to expose the uncomfortable, unvarnished reality hiding underneath.
What you know now, do you wish you had a third term? You know what, if I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony, I'd be fine with that.
We know he wasn't really running the country.
Yeah.
We used to think he was actually running the country, and now they're like, no, he didn't even see those executive orders. That was all auto-penned.
You know, first of all, I don't believe, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, whether you agree with Donald Trump or disagree with him, I don't believe in hectoring voters. I believe in persuading voters. Your support is not something I'm given or something I'm owed. It's something you got to go out there and work for. So one, I just don't like the tone of going in. I mean, look, the better question for Barack Obama or anybody to ask is not why black men, it's not how dare you not vote for Kamala Harris.
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon for more. The takedown begins the way all legendary demolitions do, by highlighting the details Obama's most loyal fans would rather stay buried. The meticulously crafted image, the smooth, almost hypnotic speeches, and those signature pauses that made half the country swoon as if hearing poetry instead of policy. Joe Rogan rips straight through that polished facade like it's flimsy drywall, pointing out how behind all the charm stood a politician who mastered the art of looking busy while accomplishing less than a DMV clerk on a sluggish Friday afternoon. Rogan doesn't pull a single punch. He paints the former president as a man who could market hope like a premium product, but when the cameras stopped rolling, couldn't deliver it without a teleprompter, a platoon of writers, and an audience all too willing to overlook 8 long years of mixed, often disappointing results.
Seen it? No. He gets a glass of Flint tap water, and I swear to God, he drinks it like this. Watch this.
Can I get some water? I really did need a glass of water. This is not a stunt.
Usually when something isn't a stunt, you have to say
it's
that.
It's 100% a stunt. When was the last time a president stopped a speech to ask, can I get a glass of water? They would never do that. They would have water ready for him.
From Rogan's perspective, Obama's legacy isn't one of sweeping transformation, but of masterful branding and image control. He came across as a walking, talking clinic in self-promotion, skilled at convincing people that every half measure was a revolutionary leap forward, and every foreign policy misstep was secretly 12-dimensional chess. Rogan dismantles the myth of the Affordable Care Act being an untouchable miracle, reminding everyone it was packed with loopholes, skyrocketing premiums, and shattered promises. Collapsing credibility faster than a flashy startup going bankrupt before it even ships a product. In Rogan's telling, Obama wasn't a trailblazer at all. He was a smooth-talking salesman who persuaded the nation to purchase a product loaded with hidden fees and fine print no one wanted to read.
I think the best people age the hardest. I think Obama was probably like a very idealistic young man
Oh Lord, what's going on now? Who's hollering? I can't even see it.
who really wanted to change the world. And that dude aged more than anybody.
I mean, I'm getting old, so I can't hear that well. I can't see that good.
Who aged the least? Trump. Trump just
This is something that
he just brushed that shit off his shoulders like it was nothing.
We knock on wood wherever we may have wood that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the...
Rogan tears apart America's obsession with surface-level image, mocking how a simple tan suit spiraled into a week-long media circus during Obama's presidency. Not because the outfit mattered, but because the press seemed eager to swoon over trivialities rather than question why certain wars dragged on years after Obama vowed to end them. As Rogan puts it, the man could authorize a drone strike on a wedding in the Middle East and still land a glowing Vogue cover a month later. He drills into that absurdity, quipping that if style points were an actual qualification for leadership, Obama would have been president for life. But in reality, polished appearances don't rebuild cities, pay bills, or fix a single broken system. They just distract people long enough to forget the promises left unfulfilled.
The amount of backstabbing that's going on.
That's a very disrespectful attack on the American people who deserve the truth. They deserve to have faith and trust in the integrity of our democratic republic, which has been undermined by President Obama through his direction of this manufactured fake intelligence document, knowing that it was filled with lies.
Like when she got into office, you realize like you're not really in control of everything because there's another person who's in control of each individual department, and they'll stop whatever you're trying to do every step of the way. They get in the way of everything. What are you going to do? You're going to replace everything?
Then, just when the roasting seems to reach a full rolling boil, JD Vance steps in to deliver the first of his 3 precise, calculated blows. Vance targets Obama's carefully crafted image as a champion of the working class, dismantling the myth that he was ever truly one of them. He lays out how Obama constantly spoke about Middle America, yet treated it more like a campaign stage prop than an actual governing priority. Vance drives the message home. During Obama's tenure, manufacturing jobs in the Rust Belt didn't miraculously reappear. They evaporated even faster, replaced by polished speeches about the so-called inevitability of globalization. It's a surgical strike that exposes Obama's Midwestern photo ops as little more than political theater dressed up in work boots and denim.
Obama during this Kamala Harris administration, it changed my opinion of that guy.
I don't understand how we got so toxic, so divided, and so bitter.
He said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that.
Did you have a high opinion of him
Yeah,
before?
I did. I did just as an intelligent person, a statesman. He's probably like caught up in the system. It's very difficult to make real meaningful change. You think you're going to do something and then you get into office and you're like, oh God, what a quagmire this place is. But watching him just straight up lie about...
Rogan jumps right back in, tearing into how Obama became the Democrats' ultimate salesman for moral high ground. He highlights the glaring irony of a man preaching transparency while running one of the most secretive administrations in modern history. From the Department of Justice cracking down on whistleblowers to the cozy backroom dealings with Silicon Valley power brokers, Rogan shows that Obama didn't merely play the political game. He rewrote the rulebook on how to hide the ball while appearing noble. The roast heats up as Rogan skewers the absurdity of Obama's Nobel Peace Prize, likening it to handing a championship trophy to a team before the season even starts. Because once in office, peace took a back seat to maintaining the comfortable status quo. Rogan refuses to let nostalgia do any heavy lifting, painting post-presidency Obama as a man lounging on yachts, signing Netflix mega deals, and pocketing six-figure speaking fees from the very corporations he once vowed to rein in. The hypocrisy practically writes itself, and Rogan rings it for every last drop, calling it the most profitable retirement plan ever devised by a politician who claimed to despise corporate greed. It's not just a punchline, it's a gut punch that leaves a bruise.
Fun because things are actually happening. Very different than most of the time when people get elected.
And I will shut down the Federal Department of Education, and we will move everything back to the state.
Most of the time when people get elected, they claim all these things when they're running for president. Then they get into office and not much changes.
Individualize education and do it with the love for their children.
And in fact, a lot of what they campaigned on, they don't practice at all. Great example is the Obama administration. The Hope and Change website had to be changed because there was a bunch of stuff in there about whistleblowers.
No, I don't think Mr. Snowden was a patriot. I called for a thorough review of our surveillance operations before Mr. Snowden made these leaks. My preference would have been for a lawful, orderly examination.
JD Vance steps up for his second strike, targeting the racial politics Obama mastered. Not as a barrier-breaking pioneer, but as a skilled tactician who weaponized identity as a shield against any real criticism. Vance argues that Obama's biggest move in race relations wasn't progress, but perception, convincing millions that disagreeing with him automatically made you morally suspect. Meanwhile, the actual policies that could have closed massive wealth gaps or repaired broken systems quietly took a backseat to polished speeches about unity and hope. Vance slices deep into that contradiction, revealing how the carefully crafted image of a unifier often masked the reality of a strategic divider when it came to winning political battles and consolidating power.
Well, let me say just a couple of things. First of all, the president has been very clear. We're not shielding anything. The president has directed the attorney general to release all credible information and, frankly, to go and find additional credible information related to the Jeffrey Epstein case. He's been incredibly transparent about that stuff, but some of that stuff takes time. You've got to assemble that stuff. You've got to compile that stuff.
Rogan seizes the moment to drag Obama's foreign policy back into the harsh spotlight. He dismantles the carefully packaged no-drama Obama myth by pointing straight at the chaos in Libya, the endless quagmire in Afghanistan, and the infamous red line in Syria. Drawn, erased and redrawn so many times, it resembled a bad Etche sketch in shaky hands. Rogan hammers home that while Obama could sound like a statesman, his actions on the world stage often left allies frustrated, enemies emboldened, and America's credibility in question. This wasn't bold leadership, it was cautious calculation, neatly gift-wrapped in elegant speeches that fooled just enough people to pass as vision.
Obama did it, and it's disgusting. It's a disgusting lie. Let's play it.
Said that there were very fine people on both sides of a white supremacist rally.
You also had people that were very fine people on both sides. I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists.
See, that's crazy. I have never seen that last part of it
because the news has said that lie over and over and over and over.
The roast turns sharply personal when Rogan zeroes in on the cult-like admiration Obama still commands in certain circles. He mocks how some people treat him like a retired superhero, ready to swoop back at any moment to save America, conveniently ignoring how many of today's problems have roots in decisions made during his presidency. Rogan likens it to blaming the current homeowner for faulty wiring, while forgetting who actually installed it. Then JD Vance delivers his final, calculated strike, shifting the spotlight to Obama's role in shaping the Democratic Party's modern identity crisis. Vance argues that Obama's polished, style over substance approach trained an entire generation of politicians to prize branding over measurable results. The Instagram era of politics, where likes and hashtags seem more important than legislation or governance, can trace much of its DNA straight back to the Obama playbook. Vance's point doesn't just land, it echoes. It's not only about Obama's choices, but how his example paved the way for a party obsessed with optics, yet increasingly disconnected from tangible real-world impact.
I've had candid conversations with Tulsi Gabbard about what it was like.
It's a disservice to the American people that former President Obama's office and others who are criticizing the transparency that is being delivered by releasing these documents. They are doing a disservice to the American people and trying to deflect away from their culpability in what is a historic scandal.
She's a person, tries to be friends with everybody, tries to reach across the aisle. She's got that whole aloha spirit.
The answer to that statement can very clearly be found throughout all of the documents that we have released, showing that Russia took action to try to sow discord in the election, but showed no preference for or against.
Rogan closes in for the kill, weaving every shot of the roast into one relentless blitz. He frames Obama as the ultimate political illusionist, dazzling the crowd with charisma while the real work, or lack of it, unfolded behind the curtain. It wasn't hope and change, it was hope as a logo and change as a marketing slogan. Obama could make half the country believe the scoreboard was broken, even as the other team kept running up points. In Rogan's telling, Obama isn't a tragic figure or an outright villain. He's a cautionary tale about what happens when a nation mistakes presentation for performance. Every measured word, every perfectly timed pause, every photo-ready grin was part of a larger game designed to leave voters with feelings instead of results. And in the world of Rogan and Vance, that's the cruelest punchline of all. Obama's carefully curated brand was supposed to be untouchable, immune to real scrutiny. But Rogan didn't play by those polite, deferential rules. Every silky cadence, every soaring slogan, every crafted moment of inspiration was dragged through the mud and wrung dry of its supposed magic. The deeper Rogan cut, the clearer it became. Obama's image wasn't built on rare brilliance at all. It was a masterclass in selling beautifully packaged mediocrity to a nation desperate to feel noble about bad ideas.
Nicknames, the crazy conspiracy theories, this weird obsession with crowd sizes.
The thing that got me was that very fine people thing, the white supremacist thing. They just kept trying to say that he was a racist.
When he's not complaining, he's trying to sell you stuff. You're running for president and you're hawking merchandise. Gold sneakers, $100,000 watch. Why are you selling the watch? What are you doing?
Which is this thing that I think worked in like 2017. I don't think it works anymore. I don't think people believe it anymore. We've gotten numb to all this stuff.
Rogan's dismantling of the myth surrounding Obama's so-called unmatched political instincts was almost surgical in precision. He didn't merely point out missteps. He spotlighted the deliberate evasions, the calculated habit of launching sweeping promises into the wind, only to pivot quietly when it came time to deliver. To Rogan, this wasn't just weak leadership. It was political performance art, where the applause counted more than tangible results. Each time Rogan replayed one of those self-congratulatory moments from Obama's presidency, it landed like a bitter punchline no one dared laugh at, because the joke was on the entire country. When JD Vance stepped back in, he didn't go broad. He zeroed in on one area, Obama's self-proclaimed legacy of middle-class revitalization, and dismantled it piece by piece. To Vance, the economic data didn't tell the tale of a working-class savior. It told the story of someone slapping a fresh coat of paint on the same crumbling structure. The manufacturing jobs never came roaring back. Wages didn't suddenly surge. But the speeches, those certainly grew shinier. Vance drove the point home. For all Obama's soaring rhetoric about hope, countless communities were left with little more than a polished photo op and a handshake.
Remember when they gave that speech, when he gave a speech on television, and everybody was like, fuck this. And then they were, it kind of just went away.
It was one of the most beautiful moments in modern American history. People really actually stood up and stopped a war from happening.
Today, I authorize the Armed Forces of the United States to begin a limited military action in Libya in support of an international effort to protect Libyan civilians.
Rogan immediately seized on that thread and ran with it, pointing out how Obama's post-presidency existence had transformed into the exact corporate elite lifestyle he once claimed to oppose. Lavish Netflix deals, lucrative book tours, sprawling vacation estates, every perk of the global elite wrapped in the same effortless charm he once used to win votes. Rogan painted the picture of a man who didn't simply retire from politics. He upgraded his personal brand into a billion-dollar enterprise, all while his most loyal supporters still defended him, as though he was still in the trenches fighting for them. The brilliance of Rogan's roast lay in its tone. It wasn't angry, it was cuttingly sarcastic. Each time he highlighted another glaring contradiction in Obama's career, he delivered it with the kind of mocking disbelief that made you wonder how so many missed it for so long. The healthcare rollout fiasco? That became a bit about a man who claimed to be the best communicator in politics, yet couldn't communicate with his own website. The foreign policy missteps? Those turned into sketches about someone who treated a Nobel Peace Prize like a lifetime do-whatever-you-want card. Then came Vance's final hammer drop, a reminder that the Obama years weren't a golden age. They were the warm-up act for the chaos that followed. Without that yawning gap between promises and delivery, without the carefully stage-managed optimism giving way to creeping cynicism, maybe the political landscape wouldn't have shifted so dramatically. And when Vance made that point, Rogan just grinned and drove it even further, casting Obama not as some unlucky victim of turbulent times, but as a lead architect of the frustration that would reshape American politics. By the time they were finished, Obama's carefully polished image wasn't just dented, it lay in ruins. The man who once seemed untouchable in the court of public opinion had been stripped of the magic, the mystique, and the myth. What remained was not the legend of a transformative leader, but the clear-eyed reality of a politician who played the game skillfully enough to convince millions that style could masquerade as substance, and that soaring speeches could substitute for tangible results.